Well, now we can all see each other. I'd like to welcome everybody to the basic meditation class this evening. Good to see so many people here. We're getting on for 30. That's just great. And I'm particularly delighted to have Ajahn Barry Subhaddo with us this evening. It seems like a long time since he was here, but it's only at the end of last month.
Yeah, and there were a couple that were consecutive, so...
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's great to have you back. If there's anybody completely new to the class, that's just fine. Ajahn, we're just talking before you joined us, and we're going to say Ajahn Barry will obviously give a bit of guidance, and we're set for a couple of sessions. Then at the end there'll be questions and discussion, all of that. And in between times, if anybody wants to send a question or a comment or anything through by chat, please do that. I've got the sort of chat screen open here, so I'll keep an eye on it. But do feel free to send any messages, questions, whatever, through as we go along. Before we actually begin, let me just say briefly that we really are. I was going to say we really are blessed by current condition, because we can have people, leading the class from all over the place. So Ajahn Barry's in Spain at the moment. That's where he lives. And then next week, there's another teacher, Ante Bodhidhamma, who I won't say anything about him right now, but he's kind of zooming in from his center on the England-Welsh border, and that's really great. I'll say more about Bodhidhamma Bhikkhu a bit later on, well, at the end. So over to you, please, Ajahn Barry.
Thank you, Colin. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see so many people, or to see so many people. I'll just do the introductory chant, paying homage to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, taking refuge. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhanam sangham namasami. So I can see a couple of you have sat with me before, so they'll know basically what I'm going to do, because my encouragement is always the same, and it's to I'll leave that question till afterwards that came through then. So my encouragement is always around mindfulness, but with a slight difference from what it seems a lot of people think of as mindfulness, and I certainly used to think of this as mindfulness, and that was basically self-consciousness, watching what I was doing. I am walking slowly, I am drinking my tea, I am cleaning my teeth. But I don't think this is true mindfulness. It's self-consciousness. But if we, using the body, or the breath, or the sound of silence, when I say the body, it can be the whole of the body, or a particular part, one finger of the body, whatever. If at that moment of awareness of that sensation, we notice how the mind, as I call it, the heart mind, which is the heart of the mind, at that moment we notice how the mind is. And I think you'll find some interesting sounds going on there. I think you'll find that it is at peace. It's quiet. It's just open awareness. It's not attaching. It's not trying to get away from or become something. Because oftentimes we do this so-called being mindful by watching the breath, following the breath, walking slowly. And that implies we're doing it to become something, to become a better meditator, to become awakened, enlightened. But Buddhism is not about becoming, it's about letting go. It's about seeing prior to our conditioned state, seeing prior to that samsaric world that we create in our own mind and interpret everything else from our own views and opinions. So just this continual looking. There really is no reason why we cannot be aware in any situation. Mindfulness, meditation, we tend to think of a special thing. Yes, and it is special, but it's building a foundation for us to take those insights out of that meditation room or off the cushion or off the chair into our ordinary everyday life. There's really no difference between sitting still and moving once we're aware of that place that is our true refuge. So continually looking whilst we do our guided meditation, our sweeping meditation, looking when we move our attention, not concentrating, just looking, just being looking from that place of awareness. Just noticing, not thinking or analyzing, not trying to quieten the mind. That is automatic. That happens when we are present. Getting to know that our intuitive side as against our intellectual side that thinks, it knows. It wants to grasp everything. It wants to grasp the teachings. It wants to grasp perhaps my insights. It wants to grasp and hold on to my views and opinions. It wants to grasp and become something instead of just looking introspectively, looking within, noticing that quiet place. Because the difficulty here is that we're so conditioned to believe in the intellect. Not that there's anything wrong with the intellect. It's just that the intellect has totally taken over our intuitive side, so to speak. We're so conditioned that we need to continually practice to see that place, to get to know it, to get to trust it. This trust is not, oh, now I trust it. It's a natural trust that we can function smoothly, in fact, more smoothly from that place of knowing, of true knowing. Unfortunately, that place of true knowing cannot be grasped because it is just awareness. If we were able to grasp it, we would corrupt it, because that would be the self getting in and taking over again. So just seeing that, knowing that place, looking whilst our formal meditation this evening, looking at every move, coming back to that open spaciousness. When there's no sound, noticing that everything is an opportunity, just to know that. This is not about doing, it's about letting go. I have to use words. We actually cannot let go. It's not possible. Because again, that is me trying to let go, which implies trying to be something else, something different, trying to get something. But there is a letting go when we are present. When we are in that present moment, we just notice it's like a door, it's like a window for us to see our intuitive nature, our true nature, so to speak, or our no self. And from that place of knowing, of open spaciousness, we can reflect on the teachings. We can see anicca, dukkha, anatta, that everything is changing. The causes of suffering. And no self. We can actually get to see them and know them, not just wonder about them and speculate about them, but truly know it for ourselves. So it's not about backing off, retreating into quiet nothingness. It's to a place that can investigate, but that investigation is not bias in favor of myself, my I, my ego. It's prior to that. So we'll sit now, meditate now for say 20 minutes, 25 minutes, see how the time goes. If you want to sit in a posture that's helpful to you to keeping your awareness, the posture often warns us when we've gone off in a dream state because it starts to fall apart or slacken off or whatever. There's nothing holy about a good posture. It's just useful if for some reason you're not able to sit in a fairly upright position, you're in a chair, that's absolutely fine. But find ways, experiment, find ways that helps you to be aware, just to be aware in this present moment. So I'll do a guided sweeping meditation. Different parts of the body. It's not actually about the parts of the body. It's that it gives you the opportunity to see the ceasing of our attachment to our ideas, views, and opinions. Sometimes I might say, let's bring our consciousness, our mindfulness, our whatever you want to call it, our bare attention to your fingernails. I've never managed to be aware of my fingernails, but I can notice how my mind ceases into that heart-mind state at that moment. It may be that the parts of the body disappear. You cannot be aware of them at all. It's absolutely fine because it's about noticing this place of true knowing that cannot be known. We cannot grasp it. So sitting in that posture that's helpful to you, if possible, push the crown of the head up very slightly. eyes, whether if you're used to meditating, eyes however you normally have them, I have them slitted, just looking maybe 4 feet ahead, a meter. Just breathing gently. Don't interfere with the breath. So becoming aware of the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Not commenting, not judging, not trying to alter, just being aware. So now placing your attention, your mindfulness, your consciousness on the top of the head. Not projecting pictures onto it, just lightly being aware. Just retreating slightly from going to that object. Because it's the quiet mind, the heart mind that we're interested in. So letting that awareness spread down the back of the head and the sides of the head and the ears and the earlobes. What happens to your mind when you direct your attention to your earlobes? Mine just goes quiet, but in an open, aware quietness. Now becoming aware of the forehead. And the eyebrows. And the eyes. And the nose. and the mouth, becoming aware of the lips, the tongue, and inside the mouth. Just being aware of, nothing more. Now being aware of the chin and the jaw and the cheeks of the face. Now becoming aware of the neck and the throat. Just noticing, how is it when there is awareness? So bringing the whole of your face, the whole of the head and the neck into your awareness. So letting that awareness spread down from the neck into the shoulders. And down the arms to the elbows. And the forearms from the elbows down to the wrists. And becoming aware of the hands, the backs of the hands, the palms of the hands, the thumbs, the fingers, the knuckles, the joints of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, and the fingernails. just knowing that place prior to the thinking mind, knowing that place of intuition. And letting that awareness spread down from the shoulders, down the back, down through the shoulder blades, the sides of the trunk, down the spine, the arch of the back, the small of the back, the coccyx, the buttocks, and the hips. Now bring into your awareness the whole of your back, your hands, your arms, your shoulders, neck, head, and the face. There's nothing to do other than just be in that place of awareness. Now becoming aware of the chest, from the shoulders down the chest, down through the rib cage, the diaphragm, the sides of the trunk, the stomach, the belly, the solar plexus, the navel, the intestines, and the groin. Just awareness, not projecting pictures, not judging or commenting, just being aware. Now becoming aware of the legs, from the hips down to the knees. And from the knees down to the ankles. And the feet, the tops of the feet, the heels, the soles of the feet, the balls of the feet, the toes, the joints of the toes, the tips of the toes, the toenails. Now bringing into your awareness the whole of the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Nothing to think about here. This is just being aware. Being aware of the breath, not following the breath, just being aware of our natural, calm breathing. Or listening to the sound of silence, to that lack of sound, not going out to external sounds, but just listening. When the mind wanders, that's not a problem, that's just the nature of the mind. Just come back, not forcing. Come back with true metta, loving kindness, and notice that place of awareness. I'll ring the bell in a short time, but please don't think of in terms of the meditation coming to an end. This is something that becomes our norm. Whether standing, walking, sitting or lying down. So still being in that place of awareness, it really makes no difference whether we're sitting still or moving. We can always be aware. We can always bring the practice into our ordinary everyday life, fulfilling the Eightfold Path. Right view, right thought, right speech, right action. And these rights cannot be done by me, but they can be lived from an absence of me, an absence from a separate self, an ego. Is there anybody who what I'm saying isn't making sense? They'd like some clarity on it at all in this break before we meditate again? Okay, that's great. Hopefully everybody is it's difficult to know from my point of view because I'm talking from what I'm experiencing, and it's tricky to put it into words without words are very misleading. This is all about us experiencing for ourselves, experiencing that awareness, experiencing, knowing that selfless place, knowing that deathless place. These all sound pretty grand and often thought of as unattainable. See, and using words like that, it isn't attainable because it's already there if we only look. So please ask if you have any questions after this next period. Please do clarify things because that's it helps everybody, and it also helps me to be able to put it in a way that maybe is more understandable or is more encouraging for each of us to really look and find out for ourselves. So okay, so we'll sit for another period. I'll keep quiet this period. Maybe the occasional reminder, because I know how the mind is. We tend to start drifting away, dreaming, forgetting what we're doing. But that's quite normal. It's just for us, our job is just to notice that and return to this present moment and notice. So just noticing when the mind wanders, using the whole of the body or a particular part of the body, or the breath, or the listening to the sound of silence. It doesn't have to be one thing, it can be many, because that awareness contains everything. So just returning, just remembering why you're here. So just gently returning when the mind wanders, noticing that when we are aware of the mind wandering, then we have re-established our awareness, but using a particular part of the body, the breath, or the sound of silence. Never scolding yourself when the mind wanders, because that's the nature of the mind. It's divisive by nature. It's neither here or there. What is important is that we notice that. So just recentering yourself if the mind is starting to run a little bit wild. Perhaps adding a little bit more energy into the body, not to become anything, to get anything, but just to help with that awareness. Just to remember to catch the mind when it wanders, just to come back to a particular part of the body or the breath or the sound of silence, getting to know that quiet, intuitive, or our true nature, getting to be at home with it. So again, I'll ring the bell in a couple of minutes. Just making that small adhitthana, that small effort, just to notice, just to be aware of when the mind is carrying us away. And come back using the body, a part of the body, the breath, or the sound of silence. So just getting to know that place, which we generally dismiss in society as it is today. We think we need to think everything out to control everything. And when that we notice that quiet, peaceful moment, we dismiss it because we don't trust it. Because we're no longer controlling it. But the more we get used to this, the more we get to know this place of our true refuge, then we really can start to live. We can start to awaken. So are there any questions? I see there was just one that came up there, which I didn't quite read at the time. Colin, are you...
Colin, you have to unmute yourself. You're muted. Colin.
So I'm unmuted. And Wongdu, could you unmute everybody if they want to ask a question in the normal way? Well, I'm looking in the chat box, and actually I haven't seen anything at all.
Right. Well, I've got one here. It says, what do you mean by add a bit more energy into the body when you notice that the mind is running a bit wild? For me, it's, I'm sort of meditation, we're sitting here and after a while the mind starts to get a bit restless and doesn't like to be reined in, really, because it's used to having its own way. But if I just feel in the body, I just feel energy. See if you can feel it yourselves now. Just feel in the body. And it's as if there is extra energy there that certainly helps me to be more aware, more awake. But it's not as to be better at meditating or quieten the mind. It's just extra energy in the body. I'm putting words onto the feeling that I have in my body. Does anybody know what experience that? If they just open the body? Does that answer the question at all to whoever asked it?
Yeah, it was me that asked it. And I understood the bit about the mind running a bit wild very well. I already knew that.
Yeah.
It was just particularly what you meant by adding a bit more energy. I sort of think I'm on the edge of it, but you sort of seem to be suggesting that one could draw in some more resource from somewhere. And I was wondering what and from where.
I feel that I can, my limits are further than I think they are, if that makes any sense. So when I'm sitting, I can just, now whether it's imagination or not, I don't know, but it certainly helps me. At the moment, I can feel an open energeticness in the body. I see meditations as quite energetic, not sitting still in a dumb, quiet way. So that's the best I can say. If for you just to open up, and yeah, that's the feeling I get, adding a bit more energy. What more can I say?
Barry, I've got a question here that's come through.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Senkwok. How much time in your daily life, in terms of a percentage, how much time in your daily life do you experience timelessness or feel time is extinct? Say about that? I can see Senkwok there, so feel free to chip in if I haven't asked your question clearly.
No, I understand the question. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Barry. John.
I've never actually timed it. All I know is I don't distinguish meditation from, formal meditation from normal life. So every time I remember in my normal active life, I come back using the body, or the sound of silence is my favorite. So I come back to that. And then there is this understanding of timelessness in the present moment. I wouldn't like to say if I added them all together, it would be 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or whatever. I don't know. I just, all I know is my job, so to speak, is to be aware and return to the present moment.
The reason why I'm asking this question is in one of my samadhi meditations, I encounter timelessness.
Yeah.
It's a split of a second.
Yeah.
In my samadhi meditations.
Yeah.
My question is, in the Vipassana meditations, does it allow you to experience timelessness in your daily life?
I think absolutely yes. Yes, because I don't really think that we can practice Vipassana from anywhere but that timeless state. True Vipassana. Because otherwise, unless it is empty of self, then it's not Vipassana, it's not investigation or knowing. Does that make any sense?
The timelessness in samadhi meditations is when I experience that is when I felt all the thought is extinct. All the concept is gone. The mind is at the present moment all the time.
Yeah.
Then suddenly I experience, split of a second, I ask, and a split of a second, that time is disappear.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is no, yeah.
And that is in the samadhi meditations.
Okay.
And then in our daily life, the Vipassana meditations, I wasn't able to find that timelessness in it because I have all the thought and all the daily life. So you weren't able to experience the timelessness. And maybe my meditations in Vipassana is not deep enough to experience. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, to go back, the way I see it is that we realize that place of no self, timelessness, because there is no future, there's no past, there is only now, and there's not even now. And then we can investigate the teachings, the Anicca Dukkha Anatta, for instance, from that place of, as you say, timelessness. For myself to be in a timeless state that has nothing at all is not something that I'm particularly interested in. I'm interested in that no self, timeless space in my action, in my meditation, in my investigation. Because in that place, I'm not carried away. There's clarity, there's perspective. Is it making any sense?
It does. I think it does make sense. I mean, in your Vipassana meditations or daily life meditations, you have no thought, you have no concept.
Is that a statement or is that a question?
It's a question. Is that correct? I mean, it's with Vipassana meditation.
It's not the way I see it. I see in my meditation that generally life is like surfing the internet, and you go from one page and you're looking up what you wanted to look up, and then you spot something else, so you go to something else, then you go on to something else. And this is the way the thought pattern tends to go. But when I'm coming from a place of pure presence, there can be a thought, and that is thought through, and it ceases. It doesn't lead on to another thought. So thoughts can be used. We can investigate the teachings from that place of no self, from that place of timelessness. But we're not ruled by Mara anymore. Mara has no power over us of our delusion, our views and opinions in that space.
Thank you, Ajahn Barry.
Okay, I hope that's it. It's difficult. We have to experience this for ourselves. But I would say, and forgive me for this, but be careful of what I call a cabbage state of just quietness. We need to bring that into the Eightfold Path, into our right view, right thought, right speech. It needs to become alive in every moment, not just being quiet.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Now, a couple more questions have popped up in chat. Here's a good one. Is it possible to overcome tinnitus with deep meditation?
Who asked that?
Annette.
Annette. Annette, can have you tried to do anything medically about your tinnitus?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi. I've had it for a while now, and no, medically it doesn't seem to be there doesn't seem to be much they can do. It's more the meditation, but the meditation with the silence that we've just done is it can be very I was just wondering if there's a way you can go through that.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's generally with tinnitus, there's nothing that can be done, or if there is, get it done. But if there isn't, you have two choices, and one is to suffer from it, and the other is to make friends with it.
Yeah.
And if say listening to the sound of silence, as it does with some people, magnifies it, then don't put your attention that way. Put your attention on your big toe or your feet or your legs or whatever. But it's problem with things like this is we try to get rid of them, which gives them power, which gives them strength over us. So don't try and get rid of it. Make friends with it in a sense of just being open to it, because there's nothing you can do other than the two choices. And the first choice is to suffer from it. And the second choice is to be with it, make friends with it. There's a lovely Indian saying, which is, pain is compulsory, but suffering from pain is optional. Suffering is compulsory, but suffering from suffering is optional. You see that? Because we tend to magnify these things. We tend to put things, sankharas, on top of other things, which makes them twice as bad. So experiment. Don't use the sound of silence if it's causing you problem. You've got all these other sensations in the body, the feet, the legs, the whole of the body, or the breath. But don't ignore it, don't repress it or suppress it.
Okay.
I wonder if I could say something about that, because
Yeah, please.
I have suffered from tinnitus, as I would now understand it, all my life. But I don't suffer from it. It doesn't, because it was a revelation to me. It was in my early 20s that I discovered anybody didn't hear this all the time. I just thought that's what it was. And actually, I have subsequently found that making the tinnitus itself the subject of my meditation has been very helpful. Not
Yeah.
help with the tinnitus, it helped with the meditation.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's an odd idea, but I think it's another way of taking up what you perhaps mean by make friends with it. But if you just take it for granted, as I did, and other people didn't have the experience they had to, I just thought it was part of being human.
Yeah.
And once you discover that it isn't, that's quite interesting, but it doesn't stop it being part of me.
No. I mean, I've practiced for 30 years with the sound of silence, which in a sense could be tinnitus for all I know, because I can hear it when I'm mowing the lawn. I can hear it with a chainsaw in my hand. But it's been my absolute best friend. It's been it anchors me to the present moment, no matter what I'm doing, if I remember to be with it. And I don't need to remember often because it's there. So yeah, that's thank you very much for bringing that up, James.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, see it, experiment. This is all about experiment. What works, what helps us, but not to try and get rid of or trying to repress or suppress, but accept, open up to things.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn.
My pleasure.
Here's one from Jeff. So how do you deal with empathy and always feeling so deeply about others that it gets you almost to a point of depression? I mean, I'd like to broaden that out a bit. I mean, you've only got to read the news and read about all the horrible things that are happening to other people in other places. You can get very depressed indeed. I think it's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, if we really practice what I've been encouraging now, just to come back to the present moment, and not only come back to the present moment, but for me, the question was why? Why do we meditate? Why do we want to be in the present moment? Because I was just practicing for years of being in the present moment, but it means nothing unless we look at the reason why we're doing it. And as far as I see, it gives us that opportunity to notice that place that is prior to the thinking mind, which is prior to the suffering. So, yeah, seeing all these things, all these horrible things that people, this most civilized, supposedly being on earth, destroying itself, killing each other. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible stuff. But come back, especially at times like that. Come back and see the illusion of the whole thing. Greed, hatred, and delusion. It's all about greed. It's all about our delusion. Hating others. Greed for more and fear of losing. Losing our ideals. Losing our whatever. Get to know this stuff clearly. And then that will disempower our attachment to the suffering. Get to see, I like to say, to see the world as a soap opera. We don't have to take part in that soap opera as a star. We don't have to, but we can know it. We can be free from it whilst functioning in our ordinary everyday life. So that's all I can say is really remember just to come back to the sound of silence, the breath, or awareness of the body as a whole or any other part. And the more we get to know that place of our true refuge, that timeless place, that place of no being, that deathless place, the more we will see and have freedom from this world illusion that seems to happen around us.
It's great, thank you.
Ajahn, this is Saint Quark again. Yeah. I would like to go back to that questions regarding vipassana meditations. Like you say, you have to integrate that into the Eightfold Path. The timelessness have to integrate it into the Eightfold Path. However, our daily life, we always have to have concept coming up in our mind to proceed with actions. When you have the concept with you, the time is always there. That's my question is, if you when you have a concept, you will never able to get rid of the time. The time is always there because time and the concept is always related to each other.
Not if you're looking prior to the thinking mind. There's nothing wrong, I don't think, with concepts. Concepts are now. It's only the dream world that is the problem when we're carried away by concepts and adding on to it problems, sankharas, views and opinions. This is the problem. The problem is not the concepts, because if we have clarity, we don't attach to those. We know them as just concepts, nothing more. They hold there's nothing tangible about them whatsoever. They're like grasping air or smoke. They're just concepts. So we start to see them clearly as they don't control us. There's nothing wrong. They become a problem if we try and get rid of them. If we think they're a problem, then they're a problem. And then they escalate because we think we should be something different. As Ajahn Sumedho says, it is like this. This is the way it is. That comes up. Okay. If we don't feed it, we don't try and get rid of it, Four Noble Truths, Second Noble Truth, then it dissipates. It just goes away because we're not feeding these things. We're not giving them nutrients, as they say in the suttas.
Yeah.
So it's if we don't make problems with these things, then they start to lose their power. When the Buddha awoke under the Bodhi tree in one of the stories, Mara assailed him with various temptations and evil forces and beautiful women and this and that. He paid no heed. he didn't say, he didn't have a perfectly, this is, as the story goes, open, pure mind, but he paid no heed. He wasn't going out attaching to those things, trying to get rid of them. Yeah, there they are. Another story is Ajahn Chah, the still forest pool. The mind is like a still forest pool. It's still, it's there. And then these wild animals come and drink from the water. So if we just let them come, they go. These are thoughts. They come, they drink, they go. If we don't interfere with them, try and get rid of them, they stop coming.
It seems like what you're saying in Vipassana daily life, you can experience timelessness.
Absolutely.
You don't attach with the concept of thought. You
Yeah.
just see it as they are.
Yeah, yeah. And there's the nice little story of in the sutras of the archer. Somebody asked the Buddha, what's the difference between an enlightened person and an unenlightened person? And he says it's like if an archer takes an arrow and fires an arrow into a person's body and then quickly takes another arrow and fires it into his mind. That is the unenlightened person. But the archer takes another arrow, fires it into another person, takes another arrow and misses his mind. And that is the awakened person. So it's what we create through our views, opinions, and attachments, our conditioning, that is the problem. So this is why I really encourage, let's look somewhere else. Let's look prior to all that conditioning, which is in the present moment, right now. Can anybody tell me, in this very moment, is there anything lacking? I've never met anybody who can tell me there is anything lacking in this present moment. But we don't bother to look there.
Barry, can I just, I know we are running out of time, but may I just ask a perhaps rather personal question? How do you think of our Earth needing all our attention to save it? And how do you apply your way of life to this need that we all need to do?
Yeah.
Have I made myself clear?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I really believe that if somebody can come from a selfless point, from a selflessness, it is the least harmful and most good anybody can do, because the problems of the world are created by this greed, hatred, and delusion, this greed for more and fear of losing. So, yeah, I mean, to some extent, you can help and do things, and it's helping. But to truly help, I think if we individually awaken, and that sounds like a big deal, but I think it's absolutely, we all have the opportunity right now, even if just for 1 second, and then we can truly do good, because we're not adding one more deluded, opinionated person.
Well, thank you, Barry. It's kind of ironic, but we've been talking about timelessness.
Yeah.
And the time, actually, in a conventional sense, is pressing on. Look, I really want to thank you very much for spending time with us this evening. That's been absolutely great. And the good news is Ajahn Barry will be with the class on July the 21st, which just happens to be the last time we meet before the month break or whatever, Buddhist Society's break during the summer. So that's really good. So please put in your diaries 21st of July. But please also put in your diaries like this time next week, because I mentioned at the beginning, got another very, very fine teacher, in my opinion, a very fine teacher, Bhante Bodhidharma, and I'm sure some of you already know him. And rather than me going on a spiel now telling you all about him, which I could do, because once upon a time he used to come to the Buddhist Society in person pretty regularly, go on his website, Bodhidharma, Bhante Bodhidharma. And I think the Buddhist Society has put up on its website some info about him. And he's a very fine teacher, very good teacher, and a lovely bloke, if I may say so. Just a nice chap. So, look, that's next week. And once again, thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you for your questions. And, of course, thank you again, Ajahn Barry. Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.